Yeah, I'm just looking. La Playa del Caragol. I'm sure I said that wrong, but it's something that happens every year in Spain. 200,000 visitors show up. Does it have anything to do with the official grilling season starting? I'll tell you, it has something to do with protein. I'll tell you more in a moment. Right now, I'll tell you about the corn market. And the overnight action was lower, and we continue that trend here today. December at $4.83 a bushel, and we're trading 3.5 lower here on the corn. How about beans? Beans were higher on Friday, lower in the overnight, and 11.82.5 right now, down 5.25. Wheat market here, Chicago, and we're down 6 at 6.40 1/4. But we roll over to hard red, and we've been higher here, but now have slipped into the red on the new crop July, 6.80 3/4. It's down 1.25. And then the cotton market has been trying to hang on to gains. We're back up above 80 cents on the December, trading at 80.01, up 68 points. We usually have him in the studio, but we have him via phone today. It's Chris Swift with Swift Trading. Chris, long weekend. What are you watching here as we get things going?
Well, you know, Tony, it has been a long weekend and a lot of rain. That's the one thing that I've noticed, and I was looking at the weather maps this morning, and widespread rain. And then we also got the energy markets are lower as well. So whatever component that the grain markets holds to the energy market, it's a little bit softer too. And it's just kind of tough. A bull market needs to be fed every day, and rain makes grain. So unfortunately, it looks like we got a little bit of good weather in there for the crops in it. But it does leave for some other aspects, and that is most likely flooding. So through the Mississippi Delta, we got a lot of flooding in that area. If beans had not been planted, it could be great. If they have been planted, we might have to look at some replant.
Yeah, and we've already heard of some instances where we're having to consider replant, and actually the replant has been held up as well because of so much moisture. Talking about the feed grain side of this, though, before we get over to livestock, what are feeders watching?
You know, they're looking at the corn market more than anything because that's what their primary feed source is, and it's kind of iffy. Here at $5, $4.80 corn, it's not anything just spectacular to rush out and say, well, I got to buy it before it goes higher. And I know that the farmer's not really wanting to make sales at this level, but we haven't gotten much price above $5 to give them that opportunity.
Yeah, and then the big question is, will we see a bump higher if we see, let's say, China into the market for U.S. corn? Obviously, they might skip corn and do something else with the $17 billion investment they're supposed to make. But if they do that, you could see corn kind of spike a little higher. We're going to come back in a moment. We'll pick up our conversation on the cattle market. What's happening there? We'll find out next on Market Day Report. Let's talk on feed numbers. We had USDA's cattle on feed report, which came out on Friday after the close, up 2% for the on feed number. Placements up 6% and 10% lower on the marketings. All right, live cattle futures right now 20 higher on the June at 249.5. The August 240.80 up $1.20, and we're seeing $1.45 to $1.50 higher on the rest of the 2026 contracts. Over on the feeder side, gains of $1.82 up to $2.40 higher. The August, the front month, $352.12. It's up $2.27. We roll over to the hog market, and we're mixed trade here. We're off of the 95s right now in July, trading 96.37. It's up 62. July is slightly higher, and then we're lower on August, October, and December. Really focused here on the protein sector. Chris Swift is with Swift Trading. Chris, you and I had a chance to exchange some text over the weekend. I thought it might be an interesting week coming off of that cattle on feed, but market's just taking it in stride. Did we already trade those numbers?
I think some of it was already factored in, but what it really points down to is a very strategic fundamental position. In the fat cattle market, we have ample plenty cattle on feed at 11.6 million head. A lot of those cattle are long fed, so we did see an increase in the carcass weights. So we have ample plenty beef, and we seem to be very slow at moving it right now. The flip side of that is that we are placing cattle early because of the drought, which that may slow down just a little bit now since we've gotten some rain. But people were concerned about, well, I'm not going to have those cattle to work with now later on in the year, and that's correct. But there is no difference in the number of cattle. There's only going to be that those cattle were moved into a feed yard, and now some producer just won't have an opportunity to be able to put the pounds on those cattle. So going forward, it's going to be really interesting because we have enough cattle on feed to meet our beef demand for right now, is that going to be enough to weight the feeder cattle market down, or will backgrounders and cow-calf operators continue to go full steam ahead, trying to get as much inventory underneath their belt as they possibly can, even as supplies may get not necessarily thinner, but moved into different locations.
Okay, and before we let you go, Chris, we've focused here on the row crops. We've talked the protein sector, touched on the energy market. Anything else that you've got your eye on here in this final week of the month of May?
Kind of watching the hog market. So we're going to have the June to expire here in the next 3 weeks. And June is currently trading about a $6 premium over the index. And the index has not been going up. And some of the other months, July and August, even higher than what the June is. So we got some conversion to take place in the hog market more than anything. And watch that energy market, because it was down sharply overnight. Now we're not down sharply at all. So we could be plus on the day before the day's over with.
Yep, good points, Chris. Thanks for calling in. Chris Swift is with Swift Trading.